So welcome to the NetAlly Webcast on troubleshooting Wi-Fi using the EtherScope nXG. So my name's Mike Panacki here in Seattle, Washington, and I'm going to take you through doing Wi-Fi analysis with the NetAlly EtherScope nXG. So what are some of the things that we're going to talk about in our webcast today? Well, we're going to go through a quick introduction. We're going to talk about scanning versus connecting, and this is a really important distinction when we're using the EtherScope nXG to go out and do troubleshooting. Oftentimes, we've had to connect to a wireless network to really get a good picture of what's going on. With the EtherScope, we're going to find that we can go in and we can connect with the wired side or with the Wi-Fi management port, and then we can use the Wi-Fi network port to scan what's going on. And this is going to give us a lot of information when it comes to discovery. Now, we've talked about discovery in previous webcasts. In this webcast, we're going to focus on the Wi-Fi piece of it. Now, as we're going along, if you have any questions, you can use the chat window or the Q&A window. I'm going to save some time at the end of this webcast to get to those questions. So if I'm going along and you've submitted a question and you go, Mike, you haven't answered that question yet, I'm going to get to it, but it's going to be toward the end, just to manage your expectations on that. We're going to talk about the Wi-Fi app. So the EtherScope nXG has a number of apps on it. We use the app that ties in with what we're trying to do. We're going to look at the channels map. We're going to drill into the wireless network. So the channels map is going to give us a high-level view of what's going on. Then we're going to really delve deep into a specific channel, what's happening on that channel, the SSIDs, the clients, interferers. We're going to take a look at a few interferers out here. Now, in this case, I pre-recorded me using the EtherScope nXG to look at those interferers. I didn't want to mess with my bandwidth on my webcast. So we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at those recordings and see what I did to destroy my wireless network. Then we're going to talk about how we can upload our wireless discovery to Link Live. And Link Live is the cloud-based service from NetAlly that allows us to take the test results from our EtherScope nXG and all the tools I have behind me and upload that to the cloud. Now I can take that information and I can start analyzing it and generating reports on it. And this is really nice because if you were to take and send the EtherScope nXG out to a remote office, you could have somebody turn it on, collect some information, hit upload to Link Live, and upload it, and now back at the main office, you can see the results. So this is a great remote troubleshooting tool, especially when it comes to wireless. In fact, what you're going to see is that we are going to be driving the EtherScope nXG through VNC. So this means that if you sent that EtherScope nXG out to that remote site to do some wireless troubleshooting, you could remote into it and you could look over the shoulder of the person that's out there. And this not only gets the analyzer out there quickly, but it allows you to work with the person that's out at the remote site to do knowledge transfer to help them get better or help you get better at going in and troubleshooting those types of problems. Then we're going to take a look at how we can measure Wi-Fi performance. So back here behind me, let's see, like right there, we've got a test accessory. Now the test accessory is an iPerf server. So we're going to look at how we can connect to the Wi-Fi network and then do a throughput test through that Wi-Fi network to see what kind of throughput we're getting. And this is a really good one that if I have a large facility, I could go out to a conference room, I could connect to make sure I get connection, then I could do a Wi-Fi performance test, make sure I got the throughput there, and I can upload that to Link Live. So by doing that, I now have proof that we're getting the throughput we expect out there. Or if we're not, we can fix it, and then we can validate that that fix actually took the effect that we wanted it to. And lastly, we're going to talk about AirMapper. Now, AirMapper is a new feature that's going to be coming out on the EtherScope nXG not too long from now. In fact, we'll talk about the time schedule. AirMapper is going to allow us to do a wireless survey using the EtherScope nXG. So we'll go in, we'll take a look at that. We're going to look at slides for that. I don't have the code for that one yet. Looking forward to getting that myself, trying it out. We'll talk about where AirMapper comes in and how we can use it to do a wireless survey. Okay, so that's jumping ahead a little bit. Let's go ahead and we are going to switch over. I'm going to stop sharing here for just a second. And I hate to just kill you with slides. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and start taking a look at the EtherScope nXG. Okay, so we will bring that up right there and we will share my EtherScope. And let me get that out of the way. So here we have our EtherScope nXG. So what is it I'm looking at? If you haven't had a chance to look at one of these or work with it, here's our EtherScope nXG right here. Okay, so I've got that. I've got my various interfaces on here. So we can come in, we've got our 10 gig wired interface. We've got, this goes anywhere from 10 meg to 10 gig. We've got an SFP cage here that supports 1 gig and 10 gig. We've got a management wired port over here on the side. And built into this, we have a couple of 802.11 AC radios. We've got a 1x1 for the management interface. We've got a 4x4 for the network interface. So we're going to look at the difference between those two. But this has 4 network interfaces on it: 2 management, 2 network ports. So the nice thing is, whether it's through the wired management port or the wireless management port, we can connect into it and bring it up on VNC just like we have right here. Now, when I've connected in, I've got my various apps here on the screen. So I've got my auto test, ping, capture, discovery. Wi-Fi is what we're going to be focusing on today as far as the app we're interested in. But I told you in our agenda, one of the first things that we were going to look at is the scanning versus connecting. So up here in the upper left-hand corner of the EtherScope nXG screen, we can see that counter racking up there. And that's our channel number. So from the time we turn this on, the EtherScope nXG is going out and scanning all of our Wi-Fi channels. Now, we could turn bands off and on if we want to reduce the number of channels we're scanning, but it's going out and scanning these channels, and it's collecting information about the devices it sees out there. It's collecting BSSIDs, SSIDs, clients, interferers, and it's taking that information and it's merging it with any of the discovery information we discovered on the wired side. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on discovery, but I just want to show you that if I come into my discovery and I start taking a look at the devices I discovered, and I have a filter set up on that, and so I'm going to remove that particular filter right there. And instead, what I'm going to do is filter on an SSID, and let's do Netgear 7. Let's do Netgear 77 5G. That'd be a good one. I'm going to come back, and this shows me my different devices out here. It shows me the name that goes with those devices. It shows the MAC address and the IP address. So what the EtherScope nXG is doing is it's taking the discovery information from the wired side and it's merging it together with what it discovered on the wireless side, but it never connected. It's only scanning. So it's getting the MAC address. It figures out what AP it's associated with. So right here it tells me that my OnePlus phone, here's the information, the MAC address, the IP address. I authorize this to be on my network. It tells me it's connected to my Office AP, and it shows me the SSID and security. So it's taking and putting that information together. So from a discovery standpoint, we're merging all that together. But let's take a look at what we can do when it comes to looking at Wi-Fi on there. So I'm going to go back out to the home screen. We're going to take a look at the Wi-Fi app. So when I open this app, the first thing it does is it starts going through and scanning all of my channels and displaying that on my channel map. So with my channel map right here, I can start seeing which channels are the most utilized. I can see up here the number of clients and the number of APs on each one of those channels. So this starts giving me an idea of where do I have a lot of APs on a particular channel? And in this case, what's going on here on channel 5? Because I can see right there, I've got an AP out there, or a client. I've got a client out there. So I could drill into that client, and I could see that that client's on channel 5, and I could drill into that a little bit. What it could be, well, we've got that probing client out there, just looking to see if we've got any APs on a channel that's not 1, 6, or 11 in our 2.4 gigahertz band. So this is a great way to very quickly get a visual indication of what's going on with our wireless network as far as 802.11 utilization, non-802.11. This could be interferers. In fact, we're going to show a couple of videos here of where I went in, took a look at a couple of different interference sources and how we can detect and find those using the EtherScope nXG. So right here, we've got the number of clients, we've got the number of APs. It shows us where we've got our different channels and where those channels are being used. Now, as we start drilling in here, just like you saw I did, I can select a channel and I can drill into the channel details to get more details about that channel. We also have the overlap screen. Now, the overlap screen is going to show me each one of my APs that I have out there, and it's going to show me what that channel width is on there. Now, in this case, I've got the 2.4 gigahertz band. I could say I want to move up to 36 through 64. Now, in this case, we see that we've got a couple of different networks out here, and we've got some 80 megahertz wide networks. So this is running 802.11 AC. So the thing that I like about this is that when I come in and start taking a look at where's a good place to put my AP, well, I could see what channels are currently being used. So if I've got somebody out there doing an 80 megahertz wide channel, and I don't want to be in the middle of that, I know that I don't want to be on 36, 40, 44, 48. So I could move out here to a channel that is not going to overlap with that 80 megahertz wide channel. I could come in here and take a look at 100 through 144. I could take a look at 149 through 150 or 165. So this starts giving me a way that I could go in and see which of those channels are being used. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to stop the share for just a second, and we're going to move over to a different screen. And this is one that I grabbed when I was out and about doing some network analysis. And in this case, here we are at 2.4 gigahertz. And we've got some 20 megahertz wide channels in there, and that's great. Those folks are doing exactly what they should be doing. But right here, we've got this TP link that's running a 40 megahertz wide channel. And that's just not nice in a 2.4 gigahertz band. We shouldn't really be running 40 megahertz wide channels because that is going to cause adjacent channel interference with some of the other devices that are out there. So in this case, we could identify that TP link, and we'll look at the locate feature, but we could use the locate feature in here to go out and locate that device, have a talk with them. And I'll tell you, it can be as simple as somebody choosing something like, I want high bandwidth on here. And I found that a lot of the APs, it isn't really clear when it says that you're going in and you're using a particular feature that it's now sending that out at 40 megahertz wide. But this is going to help us go in and identify where we run into issues like that. Okay. So let me switch back to the EtherScope. That's one of those things where I want to be able to go in and show you what we've got going on in there, and cases that we just can't replicate easily in here. Okay, so now I can come in and I can drill into a channel, but also within the EtherScope nXG, I can come up here and I can click on my little menu, and I can now start drilling in and taking a look at what's happening with channels, what SSIDs are out there, what APs are out there. So recently here at my office, I made some changes to the wireless network. First thing I did was validate that those changes were exactly what I expected them to be. So we could come in and I could say, show me the SSIDs on my network out here. So now it's going to show me the SSIDs. And with so many of these screens that we have on the EtherScope nXG, I can sort by a variety of different things. So when it comes to Wi-Fi, some of the things that I'm very interested in are things like signal to noise ratio. So my SNR is going to give me an idea of what the gap is between my noise and my signal. So when I come in and take a look at something like PR Home 5G, and I see that I've got a signal to noise ratio of 18 dB, that's not good. That's not what I'm shooting for. And in fact, what I can do is I can sort in the opposite direction. I can say, where do I have the best SNR? Well, I've got the best SNR from the AP that's in my office right behind me. I've got a great SNR from the Xfinity gateway I have in the storeroom that's just next to my office. And then as we move out, we see those signal to noise ratios change. So if we're shooting for a specific SNR, we can use this to help us identify where we have access points that don't have the signal to noise ratio we're looking for. Now, there's a few things like name, signal level, APs, things like that that are always going to be shown on there. But as I sort on these different fields, what we're going to find is if I said client count, it is going to add that as a field in there, and then I can sort on those. So I could start getting an idea of, where do I see the most clients? So PR Home right there has 13 clients attached to that SSID. Now we could have multiple BSSIDs within that. In fact, if we look over here, we have 2 APs. So now I could click on PR Home and start drilling in there. And it's going to show me that we're broadcasting out that SSID. It shows me the types that are being sent out, what the strongest AP is, the signal, the last time we saw it. We can see the number of APs. So I can come in and click on that. And in this case, I've got the number of APs that we have out there. I can always click back. So if I was expecting to see an AP that I don't see, now I'd want to go in and find out why I'm not seeing that. I can look at my BSSIDs. So this shows me I've got 2 different BSSIDs running on this, and I've got one on channel 11 and one on channel 13, and here we're getting our 802.11 utilization. So it's taking a look at each one of those BSSIDs and showing us of 100%, what percent is that BSSID using of that channel. So in this case, we've got 10% and 6%. So if we thought maybe our Wi-Fi was getting overloaded, this is a great way to go in and we could take a look at a channel or we could take a look at an SSID and see how busy that is. Now, the nice thing from here is I can drill in even further. And I can come in and it gives me some detailed information about that BSSID. It shows me my signal to noise ratio, my signal strength. It tells me what security I'm running. It tells me what AP. Now, I have gone in and named and authorized these devices. So as part of my discovery process, I went in, I found each device, I gave it a name. Now, the EtherScope nXG does a phenomenal job of going in and discovering the names for devices. But sometimes we may not be able to discover that. It may not be sending out the information we need to get the name. It may not be in DNS. So we can just go ahead and assign a name to it. This makes life so much easier because now when I'm going out and troubleshooting, I know what device it is I'm looking at. Now, we could come in and for that device, I could say, I'm interested in the rates and capabilities. So, what's my guard interval on there? What's my max data rate? What's my modulation and coding scheme for that particular device? What rates are supported? So again, if we're only getting a certain speed out of our Wi-Fi network, there's no mystery to why we're getting that. We can come in and use the EtherScope nXG to make sure that that particular AP has been configured exactly the way we expect it to be. And if it's not, then we can go in and make some changes and use this as a way to validate what's going on. So I could come in and look at my clients. So now it gives me a list of those clients, and it shows me all of the different devices. Well, if I came in and I said, instead of channel, I want to see 802.11 utilization. So I want to see who's using up the bandwidth on that particular SSID. So now we just keep drilling in, and you notice up there at the top, it says Wi-Fi clients, and it says 8 of 36. So of the 36 total clients, we have now filtered it down to those 8 that are associated with this AP. And I could start getting an idea of what their signal strength looks like, what their utilization. We really don't see a lot going on right here, which could indicate that a lot of the utilization we're seeing is coming out as broadcasts from the AP. Now, we've got our filter right here. If we click on that filter, it says that the filter, we're filtering on the BSSID right there. So this is where we can add and remove from these filters to filter down on just the information that we're looking for. So now we're going to come back, and I'm going to click on RF and traffic statistics. This is where we can start trending what is happening on our wireless network over time. So you notice that we've got our signal strength, and it's graphing that out. This will maintain a 24-hour graph. So we're going to stay on here just long enough to let that graph run off the screen right there. But when it does, we're going to be able to see that we'll start getting some sliders. We'll be able to zoom in and zoom out. So if we suspect that there's something going on with this access point, we could take and put the EtherScope nXG out there and let that sit out there for up to, we could leave it as long as we want, and we could go back 24 hours in time. And using the management interface and VNC like this, you don't even have to go back out to it. All you have to do is remote into the EtherScope nXG to see what's happening with that. Okay. Now, here's our utilization. So while we're letting those graphs run, I'm going to scroll this up a little bit, and this is one I really like. This is showing me my channel 802.11 utilization. So it shows me for this channel, what's my overall utilization look like? And then how much of that utilization is due to this BSSID? So I can get an idea, is this the BSSID? Is this the AP that's accounting for most of that utilization? And I get my non-802.11. This is going to be interference sources. This is going to be microwave ovens. This is going to be devices in the 2.4 gig band that will be interfering with our various devices out here. So as I'm monitoring that utilization over time, this gives me a way I could go back in time and take a look at, was there a spike in utilization? If people are complaining that there's certain times of the day where I have trouble with my Wi-Fi network, by being able to monitor that utilization, I can get an idea. So now we start seeing our little scroll, our sliders right there. So we can zoom in, zoom out. So I can drag that and I can start zooming in to particular time frames. So I could see, what does the utilization look like for this particular time? I could zoom out and take a look at that over a longer period of time. So again, we get 24 hours. Now the next one down here is our retry rate. So whenever we send a Wi-Fi frame, we need to get an acknowledgement back to let us know that it made it to the other end. And if we don't, we have to resend it. And that resent Wi-Fi frame has a bit set, and that's our retry bit. And so when we resend it, that's a bit we can look for. We can start seeing, when do we see retries, and do those retries coincide with utilization? Okay. So if I start seeing that I've got retries that correlate with utilization, that could be, a busy network. That could be where I have a hidden node issue, things like that. If I have retries that are happening excessively and it's not tied to utilization, this could be things like interference sources that are stepping on my wireless traffic. So by being able to come in and look at these graphs, we can start getting an idea of what's going on. So we can look at our channel retry versus our BSSID retry. Are the retries an issue with this particular AP, or is it in the channel itself? Okay, so as I'm scrolling up and down, I get an idea of what's going on. Now, if we come over here and we take a look at the top of our EtherScope nXG real quick, and I'm just going to bring this up, we do have an external antenna connection. Now, that external antenna connection allows us, let me grab an antenna here, I'll rip it out of the bag. I've got one in here somewhere. So we can use an external antenna to go out and monitor what's going on. So let me switch back here. Here's an example of one of our external antennas. So we just connect this up to the EtherScope nXG, and we can take that out and we can use it as a directional antenna for being able to get information about what's going on there. Okay. So here we've been monitoring. Let's come down a little bit. Our signal looks very consistent if we zoom out. Okay, we did see a little dip right in there. And it looks like our utilization's pretty consistent out there as well. So this starts giving us an idea of what's going on with that particular BSSID. Now we can continue to drill to back out again. And at any time, I can come up here to my menu right there. I could take a look at, my clients, my APs, and also I've got my interferers. So in this case, we've actually picked up a microwave there, and it happened very briefly. So I just want to show you what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is let me grab, I believe it's this one right here, and we are going to switch our share, and I'm going to show you what a microwave looks like on here. So here is our EtherScope nXG. I'm going to hit play on this because this was recorded. But in this case, I went into the Wi-Fi app, and I went and put this near a microwave oven. And so we go through, we scan the channels, everything looks good. We really don't see any interference, and we don't see much non-802.11 traffic in there. So I threw a cup of water in there, and I hit start on the microwave. And what we're going to see is that as soon as that microwave starts up, we're going to start seeing that non-802.11 jump up. And that's our darker blue that we see right there on our graph. So once I start seeing that, now I want to go in and see what is creating that non-802.11 traffic. So if I come into my menu, I go to interferers, it shows me right here that I've got a conventional microwave oven out there. And if I drill into that, we can start seeing what the power level is, and we can see what channels are affected by that. So where this comes in when we go out and do wireless troubleshooting, I was out at a production facility. They had a section of the production line that was having issues with communicating with the robots. So we took the test equipment out, we started monitoring what was going on, and all of a sudden we saw a microwave oven show up. I said, is there a break room around here? And there was some plywood right behind us. And they said, well, yeah, right behind that plywood barricade there's a little break area that the employees use. So we went back and there was a microwave oven. So it really came down to, if you're going to operate 2.4 gigahertz in that area, you need to move that microwave oven. If you're going to leave that microwave oven there, then you need to move to like the 5 gig band so that you're not going to run into that same interference. So while we're talking about the interference on there, let's go ahead and take a look at one more here. And this one is even more severe than that microwave oven. Okay. We'll grab this one. We'll go ahead and hit play on this one right here. And so this is an old X10 camera that I have. And so in this case, this camera, in fact, I've got it down here in the bottom drawer. This camera right here is horrible when it comes to the network. And we're going to see in our lower channels right there, channels 1 through 6, and maybe just a little bit more, we're going to start seeing our non-Wi-Fi jump through the roof. And that's because I plugged that camera in. In fact, that camera, there you go, we really see that show up. That camera is so bad that if there's any devices out there on channel 1, it just knocks them right off the network. So now we see our high non-802.11 traffic. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill in and we're going to go into interferers. We're going to take a look at what that is, and it comes back and tells us it's a video camera. Now, by going in and taking a look at that video camera right there, we could use the locate feature, and we could locate where that is. So let's go ahead and we're going to go back to our EtherScope nXG here. Get rid of this. So if I had gone into that microwave oven right there, if that was still active, we could go in and we could locate that. We see that we've got Bluetooth out here. So we can use that directional antenna as a way to locate devices out on the network. Now, I mentioned before, we can click on a channel and it says, show me the channel details. So I want to drill in and see what's happening on channel 6. It tells me channel 6, I have 8 SSIDs, I have 6 APs, I have 12 BSSIDs, 4 clients. I've got a couple of interferers out there, and we get our little tool right there. And this is where we could go back to the channels map, or I could do capture. And this is one I absolutely love on here, because if I select capture, this brings up my Wi-Fi capture screen. So it actually goes out and starts the Wi-Fi app. And I'm going to say, I'm going to start a capture on channel 6. Now notice I'm scanning up there in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to hit start. Okay. Now that locked in on channel 6. So it's not scanning anymore. What it's doing is it's taking everything it sees on channel 6 and it's saving that. It's showing me how much of that traffic is management, how much is control, how much is data. And it tells me of my 1 gig capture buffer right here, how much have I captured? So it's writing that to my capture buffer. So now if I hit stop, I can come in, I can say, where do I want to save this? Well, I can save it to my EtherScope nXG locally, or I could upload that to Link Live. So I could put a comment in here and I could say Webcast. And now I'm going to hit save. So what it's going to do is it's going to upload through the management interface. It is going to upload that traffic up to the network. So now I could go out and I'll show you when we get to Link Live, I can open that trace file and start going in and analyzing it with Wireshark. So it is the hands down easiest way for us to go in and capture wireless traffic. We can set filters in there based on MAC address, on IP address. So if we're questioning what is the communication between 2 devices on the network, and we want to take a look at what's happening on the Wi-Fi side, this tool makes it very easy for us to go in and do that. Okay. Now I'm going to go back. Now, we're going to go back to our home screen because I want to show you how we can do our throughput test. So in this case, I've been tasked with going out to a conference room and making sure that I have connectivity and I have the throughput that's expected because we've got an important meeting coming in. We want to make sure that that's going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here to auto test and I'm going to uncheck my wired auto test right here. And this is one of the neat features with the EtherScope nXG is we've got the ability to come in and create a variety of different auto tests. And then all I have to do is come in here and check that test I want to use. I don't have to recreate it every time. So I'm going to go back and I've got this Wi-Fi profile set up for my office network. So let's drill into that. And I'm going to hit start. right here. So it's going to go out and it's going to say, we're going to connect to Netgear 5 or 77 5G. So it shows my PHY rate that I'm connected at, my signal strength. It says I'm connected to channel 36. It shows that it's the Office AP. I got a DHCP address. I got to my DNS server. I got to my default router. And I was able to get out here and ping my voice over IP phone server, get to Google, and get to my email servers, and get to NetAlly. So all of that worked perfectly. So this tells me we have the connectivity. We were able to get an address, and we were able to get to those key resources we needed to get to. Now, if I come back, I see that I've got this link right there. That also tells me that I am now linked to my network through my network port. And we see that we've stopped scanning in the upper corner. We're not scanning anymore. We're coming in and we are connected. So I can go back to my home screen. And we've now run our test where we've connected. But now I need to know I'm getting the throughput I expect. So in that case, I'm going to come out here to iPerf. Now, I've plugged that test accessory in my network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to configure my iPerf test. I'm going to say we're going to use the Wi-Fi port because the Wi-Fi port is connected to my wireless network. Now I need to put in the IP address of that test accessory. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to see, it's going to show me all of the test accessories that have been registered to Link Live. I don't have to know the IP address. All I have to know is which test accessory it is. And I know that in this case, it's number 111. I select it. So it went out to Link Live and it said, hey, what test accessories do we have available? It said, oh, 111, I'll use that one. I'll hit OK. So my duration, I can set my duration. I can set my protocol. I can use UDP or TCP. I can do upstream and downstream. And down here, I can set my threshold limit. So let's say, for instance, I know that they're going to be watching a video over the Wi-Fi network, and I have to have at least 5 megabits per second of throughput for that. In fact, hey, this is an 802.11 AC network. Let's go even up more. I want 100 megabits per second. I'm going to have a number of people doing things. So I'm going to set my threshold, and if I can't achieve that threshold, we're going to fail. So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to hit start. So now it is going to connect to that test accessory back there behind me, and it's going to run my throughput, and it's going to show me what the throughput is for that test. And it shows that cutoff line right there, and boy, that was close. But our minimum was 113. So in this case, hey, that's pretty good. We're getting decent throughput going through to that device. And down here, wow, we're getting even better throughput, 310. That's fantastic. So my test passed. I was able to get the throughput. I got connectivity and I got throughput. So now I need to be able to prove that. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to say, upload that test result to Link Live. So we're going to say Webcast. And we're going to put that down there. We're going to say, upload those test results to Link Live. So those have been uploaded. And let's do one more thing, and then we're going to jump over to Link Live and take a look at what we have. I'm going to go out to my Wi-Fi, and I'm going to come back to my Wi-Fi channel map. I'm going to click on my little icon up there. I'm going to say, upload my entire Wi-Fi discovery to Link Live. We'll let that happen. We'll say Webcast. I'll say save to analysis files, and that'll upload that. All right, let's go take a look at Link Live and see what we've got. All right, so we'll change our share over here. We'll switch over to Link Live. All right, so here is Link Live. So this is a cloud-based service. It's free. So when I come in, I can take a look at things like my analysis files right here. And we can start taking a look at what we've uploaded. Make sure I've got my test results in here. All right. Well, I need to take a look at what where my results went. I've got this stuff, but I don't have that uploaded. Here, let me take a quick look right there. This is, you know, the old live demos. Let me make sure that I've got that set up to upload to Link Live properly. All right, well, there's the issue. I had it set to save locally. So what we're going to do is, let me just go back in here, and I'm going to re-upload my Wi-Fi information. There we go. That showed up. So that gives us an example of how we can see that we can save it locally. All right, let me put one more thing up there. Let me start that capture again real quick. This is a great time. If you have any questions, go ahead and start typing those in, because I'm going to go through this real quick, and then we are going to go to questions. I want to make sure that we get your questions answered. I'm going to hit save, and there we go. Hot dog. All right, so let's take a look at what we have with our Link Live. So with Link Live, I can come in here, and I've got my discovery that I did out there. And if we zoom in, it gives us some information. It says how many channels did we see out there, how many SSIDs, APs, BSSIDs, clients, interferers, tells me where I ran it, when I ran it. And if I come over here and I go to view analysis, and I start taking a look at my analysis, now this is where I can really start drilling in. And this has all been saved to Link Live. So I've taken a snapshot of my wireless network and I've uploaded that. So think of that you could take this out, go to a remote site, grab a picture of what's going on, and then be able to go in, upload that, and have that here in Link Live. So I can see what interferers did I see out there. I can see, you know, what clients do I have? What's going on with my various channels that I've got, my APs. We can go through and take a look at each one of these things, and everything that is highlighted in blue right there is linked, so we can drill in and see what's going on. And I can even come in and come down here to the lower corner and click on this. I could say I want to generate a PDF report that has all this information in it. So once we go out and collect that information, it becomes really easy to go in and generate a report. Now, if I back up a little bit and I go to my uploaded files, then I can come in here and there's that PCAP file. So if I click on that and I come over and say download that PCAP file, here's my wireless traffic. So it's downloaded it to my PC. I could go back in and click on that. It's a PCAP. I can open it with Wireshark and start taking a look. So you could have the EtherScope out at a remote site, have them do a capture, upload it to Link Live, be able to come back in here and see what's going on. Okay. We can also go in, if I take a look at my test results, here is my iPerf summary. So I gave it a name of Webcast. This could be the conference room. And what's really nice is that with the search feature, I could come up here and say search. I could say Webcast. I'll spell it correctly. We'll select that. This will show me every test result for that. So if I go out periodically and do an iPerf test to take a look at what my throughput looks like out there in these different remote locations, and I put in that location, that conference room, that office, I could take a look at how that throughput's changed over time. But now I've done my Wi-Fi discovery. I've gone in, I've done my throughput test. In fact, I even did my connectivity test right here. Let's see, we'll take a look at our test results. And we could come in and we could take a look at our various test results in there and see what the results are of our auto test. Okay, so it starts giving us a picture of what's going on. Now, before we move on to questions, because I want to make sure I get to those, I want to show you one last thing, and that's the thing you've probably all been waiting for. And let's get rid of this. Let me grab PowerPoint again here. There we go. All right. This is Error Mapper. So this is a new feature that's going to be coming out on the EtherScope nXG. And this is a way to go in and map out the signal strength access points of your wireless network and put that onto a floor plan. Nice thing here, does not require a laptop, doesn't require a dongle. Everything is built right into that device right there. No tethered device. We don't have to have anything else. Everything is right in the EtherScope nXG right there. Okay. So how does this work? Well, we bring the map into the EtherScope nXG. Then we go in, start the survey, start walking around. We tap the screen at the location where we're at, and it's going to go out and collect the information. Now, it's important to note right here that we do see these green circles. That does not represent signal strength. That represents we took a measurement at that point. So as we're going through and taking the measurements, it is mapping that measurement, those APs that we see, those BSS IDs, it's mapping that onto that floor plan. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the information we collected. So think of the EtherScope nXG as the collector in this case. We're going to take that information we collected, we're going to then upload that to Link Live. Link Live is where we're going to be able to go in and see the floor plan, see all the information about what we've collected. So you could easily send this out to a location where maybe you have somebody that isn't a Wi-Fi expert, but what they can do is they can go in, and if they can tell where they're at on a map and touch a screen, they're going to be able to go in and collect that information for you. Then they're going to upload it, and now you can start analyzing that information. So this is a great way to identify where we have problem areas. Maybe we have a dead space in there where we don't have very good coverage. Maybe we just put a new deployment in and we want to make sure that that's going to work. Or maybe we've set up a temporary AP. We want to go around and make sure that we've got the coverage before we screw that thing to the ceiling. So once we get into Link Live, just like we saw with our Wi-Fi analysis, now this is where I can start going in and seeing my heat map. So what we're doing is we're uploading that survey data from the EtherScope nXG to Link Live. Now we can start generating heat maps, and this is all through a web interface. So it doesn't matter what platform you're on. I could be on a tablet, I could be on a PC, I could be on my Mac, and I could be able to go in and do this. I don't have to have software that's specific for the operating system I'm using. Okay? And with a Ally Care support contract, you get access to premium functionality. So schedule on with EtherScope version, we're at 1.1 right now. With 1.2, we're going to see that come out in April. It's going to be included on the AirCheck G2 in version 5 in Q3. We're going to be able to see the basic heat map generations available to all users. An extended heat map generation in Link Live will be available to Ally Care users. So I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to get my hands on the code to take a look at what AirMapper is going to be able to do for mapping out Wi-Fi. So it means that not only can I do 10 gig, up to 10 gig copper and fiber analysis with this and throughput testing, not only can I do wireless capture, I can take a look at the wireless devices out there, merge what I discovered on the wired side with what's on the wireless side. But now I'm going to be able to map out my wireless network onto a floor plan, upload that to Link Live, and see what's going on. Very, very powerful features. All right. So question about roaming. We can go in and we can use this as a tool to roam from one network to another. We can't go in and monitor a host to see that it roamed, other than taking a look at, as that host is walking along, we would be able to keep monitoring that host. We would see it switch from AP to AP. So from that sense, we could use it to monitor a host roaming. And well, it's nice to be able to do roaming with this and test that connectivity from one AP to the next. One of the things that is really nice is to see what a host is doing. I was out at one site, and we found that whenever they were running some video conferencing software, what it would do is it would prevent roaming on the NIC, because they didn't want it roaming if you were right on the border, roaming back and forth between two APs. But the problem was, as soon as you got up and started moving, you would lose connectivity. So being able to see what AP a particular device is associated with, pretty powerful feature to be able to do in there. And so one of the questions is where exactly are the uploaded files stored? So in this case, Link Live is a cloud-based application that runs on, I believe it's Amazon Web Services is one of the service providers where that is being run, and the files are stored up there. Now, if you're in a location where that is not going to work for you, you're not going to be able to connect out to the internet and upload those. One of the features that we do have in there is being able to store those files locally. And when we save those files locally, what it does is it saves them as an XML file on the EtherScope itself. Now, what I did was I found an XML to CSV converter. So I wanted to be able to generate some reports where I didn't have to upload the files to Link Live. So what I was able to do in that case is save them as XML onto the EtherScope nXG, then run the Android-based XML to CSV conversion. And now I've got all that information in a comma-separated values file. And in this case, I actually used a Word merge document to take all the fields from that CSV file and generate a report. So we've got some different ways that we can go in and take that data. One of the easiest ways, if you do have access to the internet, is to be able to go out and use that Link Live to be able to do that. So we are almost at the top of the hour here. I want to thank you for joining me. Hopefully you found this information useful. I think phenomenal tool. And things like the AirCheck G2, great tool for being able to go in and do troubleshooting. But if we want to expand it even more and be able to take a look at what's happening over time, be able to drill into each one of those channels, each one of those VSS IDs, and look at who's connected and what's happening, we see an expanded set of tools on the EtherScope nXG for being able to do that.